Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines here in the southeast. Thousands queue for booster jabs across Kent and Sussex as the government warns it's a race between virus and vaccine.
I'm happy to trust the scientists and I care obviously about myself more to the point those around me. So I'm very happy to come here today.
The young mum who couldn't find the answers she needed to help her little baby. She calls for NHS websites to be more reflective of those with black and brown skin.
And join me at this family home being lit for Christmas in memory of two very special residents.
Good evening. Get boosted now was the command from Boris Johnson last night, but it is something that is proving difficult to do for thousands of people across the southeast today, as the drive to deliver 1 million booster jabs a day got off to a rocky start.
Yeah, the scramble for jabs has led to long queues at walk-in centres in Kent and Sussex. The NHS booking site kept crashing, and there's growing concern tonight about the many medical treatments being postponed to free up resources for the booster mission.
James Dunham is live for us at a vaccination centre in Ticehurst tonight. So, James, have many people been arriving there for walk-in appointments?
Sangeeta, I turned up at this centre mid-morning and by 11 o'clock 30 people without an appointment had arrived to receive a dose of the vaccine. And despite this real sense of urgency from the government for adults to receive a booster jab here, they would prefer people not to turn up without a booking because, as you are about to see, they are already extremely busy. A queue of cars outside Ticehurst Vaccine Centre as people rolled up for their third dose. But Boris Johnson's talk of increasing take-up is simply not practical everywhere.
I'm trying to be brave.
This site is at capacity.
Last month we were doing about 3,000 vaccines a week. Now we're doing about nearly 4,500 vaccines a week. So we've increased that capacity via the booking system anyway. So to accommodate more on top of that is sometimes a struggle depending on how many people are working, and we don't want to put extra pressure for unnecessarily.
Each dose delivered extra protection against Omicron, say government, although you got the feeling people were getting their advice from elsewhere.
I'm happy to trust the scientists and I care obviously about myself more to the point those around me. So I'm very happy to come here today.
All of the scientists are saying do this, so science is the way to go with this, and I'll take their advice.
Messages coming from the government are quite strong about having your vaccines, so I think we all need to be having them.
And do you think they're doing enough to encourage people? Do you think they're getting the right message out there?
They definitely are. But my son tried to book this morning, but the website crashed, so clearly everyone is trying to book.
And if the virtual queue felt long, that was perhaps nothing compared to the wait on the ground here in Brighton, which stretched along residential streets, while in Canterbury people were standing for over an hour for their vaccine. In the UK, around 41% of people have received a third dose. That compares to Folkestone, which is on 47%, while Medway is on 34% and Crawley 32%. This GP surgery in Buxted near Uckfield is not underestimating the task ahead after a challenging 2 years.
I feel very torn, wanting to get this done. We know how important it is, but also it has been a relentless year for our staff who have dedicated their time to the vaccine programme over and above what they already do in their day-to-day work. But we want to get it done and we want to play our part, so we'll work with our local systems in order to see how we can free up capacity.
Determination and drive, but will this vaccine effort be enough to control the rise in cases?
James, the government is asking health staff to do more, but do you think vaccination centres in Kent and Sussex will be able to ramp up their programme in the way the government would like?
There's definitely ambition, certainly the same sense of pulling together that we saw when the vaccine programme was first introduced last year. But there is also a real concern about what impact the vaccine rollouts will have on other health services, heart operations, cancer treatments, hip replacements. Those things all still need to happen, even if there is a new variant and cases increase. And so we can expect to see the Army getting involved with the ramping up of the rollout in the coming days to help speed up the process. And we've already heard this year how difficult the the winter will be on the NHS, trying to deal with the backlog already experienced through this pandemic. Here they will continue doing what they've done for the past 12 months. They've already delivered 80,000 jabs over the last year, and many more will continue to be given to people turning up here this evening. They close this evening, Sangeeta, at 8 o'clock.
James, thank you.
Well, over to Westminster now, and our political correspondent Phil Hornby. Phil, it's an incredibly ambitious target to try and vaccinate so many people in such a short time. Is it realistic?
Well, as James said there, it's going to be very difficult, but the government say they have no choice, and that's because of the speed of the spread of this new variant and the scale of the whole COVID crisis. Just listen to this from the Health Secretary.
The UK Health Security Agency estimates that the current number of daily infections are around 200,000.
Here in London, within 48 hours, Omicron is expected to be the dominant variant, and that means Kent, Sussex and Essex will not be far behind. And we must not underestimate Omicron, says the Prime Minister.
The idea that this is somehow a milder version of the virus, I think that's something we need to set on one side and just recognise the sheer pace at which it accelerates through the population. So the best thing we can all do is get our boosters. We're opening up centres across the country. We're getting in the army to help with the logistics. We're expanding in every possible way.
So, Phil, do South East MPs think the vaccination programme is doable?
Well, they know everyone's going to do their best, but one Sussex MP pointed out in the Commons this afternoon it's going to put a real strain on local health services.
GPs, particularly those in rural areas, find it difficult and challenging to be able to deliver the booster programme. We'll have to deliver in great numbers. And we'll also send a message out to all patients out there that they will need to be understanding over the next couple of weeks and ensure that the morale of our GPs who work so hard is not undermined.
Meanwhile, another Sussex MP wants the government to rethink their plans on insisting that all frontline health service workers are jabbed by next spring. That means, she says, we're going to lose an awful lot of health workers.
It means, I believe, 126,000 NHS staff will leave the sector. Is this the right decision to take when NHS staff are already saying they're working all the hours God gives?
That, though, is an argument for another day. Tomorrow MPs will be voting on the government's latest COVID restrictions, and there'll be quite a few Tory MPs from the South East who will be voting against the government.
We shall see. Phil Hornby in London. Many thanks.
And chief executives of the UK's leading airlines at Gatwick and Heathrow have united in a letter to the Prime Minister, urging him to remove the latest travel restrictions ahead of Christmas. They are urgently requesting a meeting as they say the measures risk killing off the travel industry. The airlines are calling for testing of fully vaccinated passengers to be removed, as well as more economic support.
The senior MPs called on the government to set up a public inquiry into what went wrong with the police investigation into Stephen Port. Now, he murdered 4 young men, including Daniel Whitworth from Dartford. Last week, an inquest jury concluded that police failings probably contributed to the deaths of Daniel and 2 other victims.
Will he please order a full public inquiry to examine whether there is institutional homophobia in the police service? And does he agree that such an inquiry is vital if the police are to gain the trust of the LGBTQ+ community?
A mother from East Sussex accused of poisoning her severely disabled son has pleaded not guilty to murder at Lewes Crown Court. Pembe Mehmet had been living with her son Mustafa in Sedlescombe before he died at the Royal Alexandra Children's Hospital in Brighton in September 2018. The 18-year-old was found to have drugs in his system which had not been prescribed. The 47-year-old from Hove will go on trial in May.
Police are appealing for witnesses after an elderly woman was injured in a collision in Gillingham. She was treated for multiple injuries after colliding with a red Ford Fiesta at around 4:30 last Tuesday in Wigmore Road. The driver of the car involved did stop and cooperate. Officers would like to speak to occupants of a black saloon-type vehicle who may have witnessed the incident.
Campaigners are calling on the NHS to make their website more inclusive after one mum couldn't find any examples of what hand, foot and mouth disease look like on black skin.
Well, at least 6% of people in our region are from a black, Asian or ethnic minority background. But information about how conditions present on darker skin can be hard to find, as Catherine Walker has been finding out.
Keeping her children healthy is a big priority for Atanuke. But after an outbreak of hand, foot and mouth disease at her son's nursery, she couldn't find the help she needed on the NHS website. She said the pictures online only showed examples of symptoms on white skin.
It made me feel really disappointed and concerned as a parent, because I feel like if I was white, I'd easily get a chance to see what certain conditions look like on my child's skin. But because I'm black, I have to do extra further research on sources that may not potentially be verified. So yes, you do feel worried and you do feel a little bit scared.
It's an issue that GP Lisa Phillip is keen to highlight.
So what are the biggest challenges then when it comes to diagnosis?
Okay, so here on the left we can see we've chosen chickenpox. On the lighter skin you can see the blisters surrounded by redness, and they usually have a spot in the middle. On the right we can see the chickenpox and darker skin. We can see the blisters but there's no surrounding redness and we can't see the dot in the middle, so they do look different and can be misinterpreted in darker skin.
So what's the best way to try and address this and improve things?
I think we just have to sort of tackle it head on. I think we have to start at medical school at the beginning, and then, you know, just a really good patient resources so that parents who are worried can have a look at legitimate, you know, sanctioned sites that are really good and get lots of good information. And if that's the NHS website, even better.
Heather Nelson from the Black Health Initiative agrees. She says improving patient resources is key to making healthcare more accessible for everyone.
The inequality around skin conditions is that when you are trained to just identify these conditions, whatever it may be, on white skin, it's going to be hard for you to identify it on black and brown skin. And if you can't identify it on black and brown skin, then diagnoses are going to be missed, or it will be misdiagnosed. That doesn't help with those people who are being misdiagnosed to have trust within the service that they should be able to walk in and have as equitable as anybody else.
In a statement, NHS Online said, "We are working to improve the diversity of our content on the NHS website. This includes sourcing images and improving how we describe skin problems on black and brown skin." Cuddling her young daughter, it's a move that Atanuke welcomes. But she says progress needs to be made quickly, so every family can have equal access to healthcare. Catherine Walker, ITV News.
And for more information on resources for black and brown skin and tips from Dr. Lisa Phillip, who we saw there, please go to our website itv.com/Meridian.
More news. Lorry drivers appeared in court charged with attempting to smuggle cocaine with a street value of £33 million into Kent. Over 400 kilos of the Class A drug were found hidden among bags of frozen onion rings when Peter Perzanowski was stopped by Border Force officers. The 30-year-old has been remanded in custody until his trial in May.
The cost of an annual membership to Brighton's bike share scheme will go up next month. It will increase from £72 to £77 a year. Since its introduction in 2017, users have cycled over 3.4 million miles.
Free meals and activities will be available to school children across East Sussex over the Christmas holidays. The programme is open to pupils who receive benefits-related free school meals and will include sessions on sport and fitness, arts and crafts and cooking.
weighing more than 15 stone, the biggest dog ever to be rehomed by the Dogs Trust Canterbury Rehoming Centre, has been named Dog of the Year. Galahad the Mastiff scooped the gong at the Daily Mirror's People's Pet Awards. The 4-year-old was adopted by his new family in June following an appeal by the charity.
He likes water, does Galahad, doesn't he? Lovely dog. Meanwhile, Brighton's Christmas Panto has been cancelled. Sadly, organisers say they've taken the decision due to the length of the show's run and uncertainty and risk surrounding the COVID Omicron variant. The show, starring Anita Dobson at the Brighton Centre, has been rescheduled for next December. Tickets can be used again on the same dates next year.
What a shame. You're watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Coming up, Andrew Pate with the sport and news of a surprise wedding for one of the region's sports stars.
And with quite a lot of cloud in the forecast, I might not be able to do much to brighten your days, but I might have some news to brighten your evenings. Find out more a bit later.
Sounds exciting, and you can find more on today's top stories in our region throughout the day and evening on our website, itv.com/Meridian. Why not call us on 0808 1010 095? Why not follow us on Facebook and on Twitter?
The COVID pandemic has seen more older people move back in with their parents. For some, it's been a positive move, ensuring company during lockdown.
For others, though, the decision's been forced upon them because of, for example, financial problems, relationship breakdowns or job loss. Kevin Ashford will tell us more.
Well, we need a bit of pink around here, I think.
Debbie Wallbank moved back in with her mother after many years of living apart. It was mainly for financial reasons. Debbie had been through unemployment and divorce, but she was apprehensive.
I was about 18, I think, when last lived with Mum, and we didn't really get on too well back then, as you can imagine. But it's been great, you know, we're different people. We learn to tolerate each other and we get on really well.
We just thought this could work if we have our own space. So, and it's really nice. I like it because I'm getting on a bit now, and it's nice to know she's here if I get ill or anything, you know.
Unemployment has been a key factor for many older people who've moved back in with their parents during the pandemic. There are currently more than 360,000 over 50s out of work in the UK. That's 29% higher than pre-pandemic levels. And for women who are over 50, levels of unemployment are 43% higher than they were 2 years ago before COVID struck. An expert from Sussex University's Business School in Brighton says people who lose jobs in later life can find it tough getting back into work.
Older age population has gained some skills that are very specific to the job they were doing. So if you change, it may be not possible to use those skills with another firm, in another sector. So there is much less flexibility in that. So that is a big challenge.
A homeless charity says many over 50s are having to move back in with parents because of uncertainty over housing, with more in the age group renting instead of owning homes.
The last 20 years have seen many more people privately renting into older age, but particularly in the last year during the pandemic, because of relationship breakdown and job losses and falling incomes, we've seen a lot of people, including older people, ending up in trouble and some ending up homeless, which we really shouldn't be seeing in this day and age.
Stuart Lewis set up an online network for the over 50s. He says there are key conversations that need to be had before people move back in with their parents.
Are you expected to pay rent? Who's responsible for the chores and so on? I think it's also important to be realistic around what, if you are looking to care for your parents, whether you have the patience, the time and the skills to be able to do that yourself, whether you still need to bring someone in, an external professional in to come and help with that.
So moving back in with parents can work, but some preparation and negotiation is advised. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
And the ITV Evening News Hour continues with the national and the international news at 6:30. To London for a preview, and Charlene White.
The vaccine race against the Omicron variant speeds up. Queues across the country as people rush to get their boosters as others struggle to get lateral flows. Boris Johnson faces a rebellion from his own MPs over Plan B restrictions, with more questions over alleged parties and...
Danny!
We catch up with the new King of the Castle. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Now, a brother and sister from Crawley are paying tribute to their much-loved parents with a very special display of Christmas lights.
The Pedrosolos illuminated their home in Tilgate for years. After the couple sadly passed away, their son and daughter have put up the display for one last time.
Andy Dickinson is there for us now live. Andy, it's looking fairly spectacular, isn't it?
Yes, Fred, we often bring you stories of festive lights and displays outside people's homes at Christmas. Many of them also, of course, raising money for charity, but few perhaps as touching as this one. Chiro, this is your family's home. Tell us, if you can, the story behind these lights.
Well, my parents always put the lights up for a good old 20 years now. They've been putting them up every year for the community, and basically they both passed away at the beginning of the year through COVID. And we've just decided to do something in memory of them and for the community to put the lights up for them.
And these lights have always had a big impact on the community, haven't they?
Yes, they have, yes. My dad always got people into the house to have a look inside. Obviously, we haven't done the decorations inside, but it was like Santa's grotto in there.
And I'm guessing you as a child watched your dad put the lights up. What was it like for you doing it this year?
Very emotional. To say the least. As we were putting them up, I've got a few friends together and family, and we got together and put them up, and I kept looking at the skies and thinking, is that all right, Dad? Is that all right, Dad? And yes, it was very emotional for us.
And tell us about the charity you're supporting and why you chose them specifically.
Well, we're supporting the NHS, specifically supporting them because they did everything they could in their power to look after my parents whilst they were in their final stages and kept them comfortable.
Thanks, Chiro. Well, as you can imagine, neighbours already coming to visit this display. These illuminations not just raising the spirits, raising the smile, and certainly with some soul.
Absolutely wonderful. Andy, thank you very much indeed. Smashing.
Lovely lights. Holly's with us now. Holly, you promised something to brighten up our evenings.
Yes, well, I'm going to do my best. So obviously the evening's very dark at the moment and we haven't quite reached the shortest day yet. But although the mornings are still getting darker, we've had our earliest sunset now. So from here on out, the evenings are going to gradually get lighter.
Oh, good news.
I know,
well done.
Nice. Oh, thank you. I can't take all the credit. I've also got, if that doesn't do the trick, I've also got a little game to cheer us up this evening. Bit of sunrise or sunset.
Classic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you want to take a look at this first photo?
Go on.
Do you think from Jan Cadenbeck's Hill it's a rise or a
Oh,
set?
Fred, you've got to go first, please.
That's got to be a sunset.
I'm afraid it's a rise,
Oh,
sorry.
that's a good
1-0 to
start.
me. Kerry Baker in Ebbsfleet.
That is a set.
That is a set.
Well done. 1-1.
Well back, Fred. Well done.
Kaz Jane in Eastbourne. Rise or a set?
I think that's a sunrise.
I agree, Fred.
Correct.
Oh, 2-1 to us.
to you.
Yep.
Bob Prince in Cuxton.
Oh, now, FD, that looks early to me.
I'd have thought. Go on, no,
go on.
No,
you
go
say.
on, you say.
Oh, rise.
That is correct.
Oh, well
3-1.
done.
You are
Fred,
well in the
good.
lead.
Terrific.
Good.
There's
Well
still
done.
time for me to catch up, though. What do you reckon? Chloe Reeves in St Leonard's.
It's a set.
It's a rise.
Oh,
I've
3-2,
scored
it's
one
getting
back.
closer.
Here we
Typical one,
go.
Fred.
Steve Collis in Margate. Rise or a set?
Oh, I think that's a rise, FD.
Go on.
40. A rise, we're going to say.
You're saying a rise. It's a set.
Oh, it's is it 3-all?
It is 3-all, which means
No,
it
it
all
isn't.
comes down.
It's 3-2, thanks.
No, we've done
No, it's
6. This
3-all.
is the 7th.
Oh,
Yeah,
Sorry,
they're not
Sangy B. Danny Scott. I'm not cheating.
I'm not a bad loser. Go on.
Danny Scott, Fairfield. It all comes down to this.
That's a sunrise.
It's a rise. Well done. Oh, you pipped me at the post.
Thank you.
I've never felt so relieved in all my life. Let's see if the weather is going to make us happy as well. I doubt it, but you never know. Here's Holly again.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Well, all feeling pretty unfestive, I think, at the moment. Fairly cloudy skies, although I know some of us had a bit of brightness today, ever so mild at the moment, although it does get a little bit less mild as the week goes on. Some bright spells, I think, around at times, but also the chance of some mist and murk as we head through the week on occasion too. So let's take a look at just how mild it's been. Well, the average at this time of year is probably about 7 or 8 degrees as a maximum. Wisley on Sunday, 14 degrees. It's been a little less mild today, but you get a sense of just how unseasonal it all is. Out there at the moment then, a fair amount of cloud around, a few clearer spells perhaps tonight, but the cloud tends to sink lower and it could well cloak some of the hills. There's some poor visibilities in places, but yes, temperatures, our lowest valleys are likely to be higher than we'd normally see by day at this time of year. So we head into tomorrow morning. It's a grey start, as I say, some mist and murk for some. As the day goes on, well, I think you might see a little bit of drizzle here and there, not too much of it. We keep the southwesterly breeze, though, drawing in this very mild air, so temperatures 11, 12 Celsius. You might see a few holes in the cloud here and there, but I do suspect they are going to be in fairly short supply. Taking a look at our high tide times, we've got Margate there at 8:29 and again at 9:12 as we head into the evening. And finally, the outlook. Well, I know this doesn't look particularly inspiring, does it? But I do think there'll be some bright weather coming through at times. In general, there's probably a fair amount of cloud. You'll see those temperatures start to nudge away as well as the week goes on, both by day and by night as well. In addition, we could well see some mist and fog on occasion. Have a nice evening.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
And just a moment, the ITV Evening News Hour continues here with Charlene White.
Derek Johnson's got our late news just after 11, but for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much for watching. Enjoy your evening and take care. From all of us here.
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.